the internet!
Your Honor?
You claim that this game is awful and should rot in hell for all of eternity!
Indeed, Your Honor. Every big media gaming company gave this video game a bad rating, and we agree.
Defendant!
Your Honor,
Are these allegations true?
I believe to be false.
Your Honor, the defendant has no case.
No case?
Objection! Defend it!
Episode 2, Metroid, Other M. Other... Oh, it's Mother...
Today's case pits the internet versus Metroid Other M on the count that it's ruining the Metroid franchise. Each of you will get 3 points of evidence and a witness whom you may cross-examine to help further your case. Mr. Internet, as per usual, you will go first. As per usual for the Internet Court. Because that's... Internet Court. Internet Court!
Your Honor, I'd like to preface with the fact that many large websites gave this game a positive review, but the fan reception was abysmal. For those of us who enjoyed the earlier Metroid games like Super Metroid or even Metroid Prime, we've all grown to love the mysteriousness of the Metroid franchise, who Samus was, the powers of the Metroid, or even those infamous space pirates who so desired said Metroids. These are all just a few things that we've all grown to love in our Metroid, not some scripted Lonely Girl 15 blog.
Objection! Lonely Girl 15 is no longer relevant, so why would you even... Actually, you know, I want to see where you're going with this. No, go ahead.
Order! Order in my courtroom! Yes, hello, yes. I would like a number 3 with mayo, no barbecue sauce. Yeah, Diet Coke. Alright. Pick up, yeah. Alright. $8.95? That's highway robbery.
The main drawback of Metroid Other M is how Nintendo, in conjunction with Team Ninja, decided to fabricate a backstory for a character notorious for having a limited backstory. In the earliest Metroid games, part of the fun was trying to figure out why you were on a certain planet, what you were doing there, and who you are exactly. Hell, it's barely even addressed in the first few games that Samus is even a woman. However, suddenly we are introduced to this seemingly weak protagonist that is Samus. She's no longer as badass as she used to be. The voice acting leaves much to be desired as well. Every time we hear Samus talk, which unfortunately is quite a bit, she seems extremely dull and not nearly the fearless bounty hunter that we all have come to love. Not to mention, you cannot skip any of the extremely dull cinematics, and believe you me, they are plentiful. Yep, you guessed it. This game actually comes off as quite sexist at times. It's not that it is necessarily blatant and in your face, but it's more subtle than that. I believe that most of this stems from the fact that Samus has been a solo bounty hunter for so long, and now she is suddenly stripped of all of her power by a demanding masculine figure. Right from the get-go, you are shown how to use Samus's suit to its full extent. Missiles, bombs, and all that good stuff. Then, after even more cinematics, your commanding officer, who isn't even really your commanding officer anymore, tells you not to use your unique abilities. And she obeys! So right from the beginning, a man who should have no power over a bounty hunter reduces Samus to a basic, weakened soldier.
Since we're on the topic of the female image in the gaming industry, I'd like to bring Ro from Nerdy Nummies to the Blue Elephant Stand to give a female gamer's perspective on the subject. Welcome! Ro, so good to see you!
Thank you, you too, Internet.
Oh, thank you. How are things?
Good, Nerdy Nummies is going good. And King of the Web, that's still going on. So.
I know. Bro, in your opinion, what is important to the female gamer in regards to a heroine in gaming?
Well, I think when it comes to games, it doesn't really matter where there's a male or a female protagonist. I think what really matters is that there's a character that we can relate to and that will take us through the story.
So, would you say that it's important that a heroine should be strong, yet susceptible to weakness?
Nope. From what I gather about the Metroid franchise is that they made Samus this really odd character that I don't find relatable. And the reason is because her beginnings are really similar to Batman. Her parents were killed and she's raised to be a bounty hunter. Like, she should be this hardcore badass character that doesn't have these weak sides to her. It just doesn't make sense as a person that she was raised this way and then she's a very weak character. She's always, throughout the game, needing orders and needing the help of a man, the general. She's a bounty hunter. Bounty hunters don't take orders from anyone.
I think I rest my case. No further questions. You're up, Beard Man.
Bro, it's so great to see you again.
Flower.
That's right, I got you Flower because I knew you were gonna be here. I don't know if...
Oh, hey! Got some frosting, too.
No.
Oh, don't worry, man. Happens to me all the time.
Does anyone remember a particular game called Metroid Prime? How about 2 or 3? Of course you do. It was a resounding success. Now, you would think that a game developer who had such a big financial triumph would call back to the series that did so well. Well, think again. Not only did Sakamoto, the creator of the Metroid series, deny the canonical existence of Prime, but he also made no attempt to honor the progression that Prime gave to the series. Prime did such an amazing job reviving the Dead series that it is unbelievable Sakamoto would just leave it all behind. Retro Studios should still be in charge of the franchise, not Team Ninja. Prime was able to bridge years and years of nothing and become an extremely successful game. It kept the same feel of the originals. It was mysterious, interesting, dark, lonely, and it also gave just enough of a backstory to satisfy the gamer. The fact that its existence was denied plays an integral role in the downfall of Other M.
Internet, you've done well, but will it be good enough to hold up against the completionist? Laser Clown, you are next.
Your Honor, Metroid Other M is the first true console sequel of Super Metroid, which is a game that we all grew up knowing and loving. Naturally, we've been desiring a sequel to this game, but the real question is, are we ready for something as courageous as Other M? May I present to you, the courtroom, my case onto why I really enjoy Metroid Other M. The internet claims that one of the many reasons Metroid Other M is considered a bad game is because of its sexist tone. One specific example is that Samus goes from having access to all of her toys to being limited to almost none of them because of her commanding male officer. But let's look at this from a theming perspective. In nearly every Metroid game, you start from scratch, and it is up to you, the gamer, to acquire or sometimes even reacquire weapons, items, and suit upgrades. This specific example is not sexist by any means. It's actually just following the traditional theming that exists in a Metroid game, building or rebuilding your character in a lonely and desolate environment. If anything, this all stems from the internet's point of an unforgivable story. Despite the fact that Samus's power-ups get taken away because of this male figure, it all comes down to that regardless, her powers need to be taken away somehow, as that is one of the central themes of the Metroid franchise. If you have played the old Metroid games, then moved on to Other M, you would feel right at home when it comes to style, gameplay, and presentation. Other M's combat engine was designed by Team Ninja, the masterminds behind Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden. Whatever, you get it. That being said, the combat does not get stale. After receiving permission to use all of your power-ups, you feel unstoppable, especially when you charge up, jump on top of an alien, and blow its head off. Samus is back in a big way when you take this into account. Other M feels like a polished version of the old Metroid games, regardless of its flaws. It's a 3D side-scroller. All the same moves are there, the bombs, the missiles, ball mode. There's also the added depth of the first-person shooter mode, which is a direct nod to the Prime series. Now granted, some critics claim that this slows down the action, but I think it adds another layer of change. We all want change and moving on to another installment. Staying close to your roots is important, but also taking chances to further your progression is what we all love and want to see. All of this helps us see that Metroid did not forget its core values when evolving into another installment of its own franchise. I would like to call my witness to the Blue Elephant stand.
Gerard, who's your witness?
I forgot a witness. Holy crap, I forgot a witness. Oh, this is bad. Breathing is good.
Maybe he can, do the...
I call Husky Starcraft to the Blue Elephant stand. So, Husky Starcraft, what do you think is the essential component of making a sequel to a game?
You know, Gerard, that is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Some of the important things about making a sequel, number one, is that staying true to the original is so very important. You think about Mario, for example. It's basically staying true to the original, man. It's something that has been consistently fun. The mechanics have been about the same, and even though he's evolved throughout the ages, Starcraft is a great example of this. I personally play a lot of Starcraft, is that they stay true to what the original game is. The basic core ideas and concepts and everything, they're still there. The strategy, for example, for Starcraft 2 is something that's always been there. Because if they made Starcraft without strategy, all of a sudden you just have a real-time strategy game with no strategy. So it'd just be a real-time game. And that is also a great point there, is that the mechanics of the game should be relatively the same. You're not going to go into a game with completely different mechanics, even though it may have the same name. That just doesn't make any sense. So in StarCraft 2, for example, they made the mechanics a little bit easier. They took a risk there. A lot of people weren't quite happy about that, but it ended up working out, because what it does is it allows newer players to come into the game and allows them to enjoy the game like you've enjoyed it over the last decade or so. And so, as you were about to say right there, I also just want to mention that great cinematics and great storytelling are so important in the StarCraft franchise, as well as in a lot of the other more famous games out there that you may be more familiar with, is that they stay true to the story of the characters, the character development. Basically the story that you see from those characters from start to finish is something that is so important. And then also, on that point, is the cinematics are so crucial. They're so good and crisp and well put together. Blizzard is known for this. Sometimes when they announce a game, they will actually just show the cinematic, the opening cinematic. So even when you buy the game, the first thing you see is a cinematic you've already watched 500 times, and it is so good that you're okay with it. You're still getting pumped, you're still getting ready. And even though the graphics in the game may not be as good as the cinematic you just watched, you just want to play through the game to get to the next cinematic. That is how good the storytelling is, how enjoyable those cinematics can be. So that's something that Blizzard, for example, does very well. And that aside, I think that should help you out a lot, bud.
Thank you, Husky Starcraft. No more questions.
Mr. Webbs, take it away. In Internet Court.
Oh, hi, Internet. It's great to meet you. Yeah, of course, I'll sign. No problem. This is great. It's awesome meeting you. You take care, bud.
Alright, yes, I agree, the story in Other M is much less than satisfactory. It's downright painful at times to watch some of these unskippable cinematics. A better voice actor was certainly a must, and the script needed a lot more work. However, if we look back to the old Metroid games, the story was already very sparse. I think that if most of the junky plotline had been bypassed in Other M, and the player got to hop into the gameplay much faster, this would be a modern Metroid game that most of us would be looking for. The mechanics are there, it feels good to play this game, it seems a lot like an upgraded version of Super Metroid while being bold and taking new chances. It looks great, and it's reminiscent of the glory days of Nintendo. But even with a flawed story, Metroid has almost never been about the plot. It's been about the atmosphere and the gameplay, and when it's all said and done, in nearly every Metroid game, even if there was a story, most gamers ignore it. Not because it's unimportant, but because everything else is what pulls you in.
Alright, we've had some great testimonials here this evening. Now it is time for your closing arguments. Mr. Webbs!
The sad truth about Metroid Other M is that this game destroys itself. Team Ninja and Nintendo failed at what could have possibly been a revolutionary step in the Metroid franchise.
Hold it! Don't forget, Internet, this game goes back to its roots. The story may be junk, but the core gameplay is really what sells this game. In the end, it's still a fun game.
Don't forget, Gerard, you're usually wrong.
No, you forget!
I never forget.
You want some of this beer? Let's go!
Let's hustle and flow, Snitch!
You wanna go, muchacho?
Oh, I'm ready for you. You wanna get froggy?
What is your order in my courtroom? Well, you've heard it here first, folks. Be sure to leave your comments below and tell us who you thought won this episode of Defended. Now, if you'll excuse me, let's watch these two kick the crap out of each other. Let's go, bro!
You guys want any cupcakes?
Oh, no, we're actually... I've had enough. We're really good.
No!
Yeah. I'm afraid. I just keep having.
Just go with it, man.
No, Black Fred!
It's going to winter.
I can't stop eating this.
What happened? I totally blue screened.
It's like ambrosia. It's like food of the gods.
It's the fruit of the...
How do you deal with this like every day? I don't
It's
get
so
it.
divine.
She has a show all about this? What? I want
Gerard, we need to change our show.
We're doing the wrong show.
Our show sucks. We need to add cupcakes.
Why don't we have
And-
cupcakes?
I want another cupcake. Can I have another cupcake?
I'll have your cred.
Give me your cupcake.
Wait, I still have cupcake.
On the internet, give me your cupcake.
Do you have any more? Are you good?
You can't have them.
Give me your cupcake.
Dude,
I
you're
can't ha-
totally
you
baked
can't
off the
have him,
cupcake.
man.
He's
totally,
gone, yeah.
He's gone. He's
I
on.
want to be there. It's like I'm watching all of my children being born at once.
I can only watch it because it's so good. Now I'm actually eating it, and tonight it's so good. Whoever invented diabetes is a jerk.
You guys like Aerosmith?
I love Aerosmith and I love cupcakes.
I feel like I didn't really like Aerosmith until I started eating this cupcake. And I don't want to miss a bite. I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep because I miss cupcake. And I don't want to miss cupcake.
That was good.